Welcome students. In this video, we shall quickly revise the chapter 2 of our book, that is microorganisms. In this chapter, we studied that there are very tiny organisms that can be seen only under microscope, and these are known as microorganisms. Study of microorganisms is known as microbiology. We have four major categories of microorganisms, that is bacteria, fungi, protozoans and algae. They are different on the basis of their cell structure. Otherwise, the similarity is that they can be seen only through microscope. We have a fifth category, that is viruses, but they are on the borderline of living and non-living, so they are considered unique. Microorganisms can be found anywhere on earth, in the soil, in ocean floor, in rocks, in the body of living organisms, even in our mouth, throat, alimentary canal. So can be found anywhere on earth. Now, what is their role in our life? They have very important role. They can be our friends or they can be even our enemies. So how do they act as our friends? They are our friends because they help us in many ways. For example, in food industry, the bacteria like lactobacillus help in the formation of curd and cheese. Microorganisms like yeast help in the fermentation process in bakery. Alcoholic beverages are also produced with the help of microorganisms like yeast. Then in sewage treatment, in the process of bioaugmentation, it takes place with the help of many friendly bacteria. Now, in human health also, the microorganisms play an important role. For the case when we are sick and we have to get rid of the disease, we take certain medicines, and these are known as antibiotics, and these medicines are produced with the help of certain microorganisms, maybe fungus. For example, this fungus penicillium produces an antibiotic called penicillin. Similarly, streptomycin, tetracycline, erythromycin are some other antibiotics which are helpful in curing diseases, and they are obtained from fungi and bacteria. Similarly, we have certain other things known as vaccines which we take to prevent the disease. So we shall study in detail about these antibiotics and vaccines because they are important topics and new to you. So students, what happens when the disease causing microorganisms enter our body? Then what happens is our special blood cell, they produce certain proteins which are known as antibodies, and these antibodies fight against the infection that has entered our body. And if the antibodies are successful in fighting the infection, then we are safe and we do not fall sick. But if antigens are powerful and antibodies are not enough to fight against them, then we fall sick. And this ability of our body to fight against infection because of these antibodies so produced from special blood cells is known as immunities. So these antibodies, they can catch the antigens and prevent us from falling sick. But there are certain times when antigens grow very fastly in our body, and they multiply rapidly inside our body, and antibodies are not produced in the required amount. Then what will happen? We'll fall sick. And when we are ill, then what happens? We have to take medicines to get well or to get rid of the disease. And these medicines which we take are known as antibiotics. So these antibiotics are the chemicals, but they have to be taken under the advice of the doctor, and we must take it in prescribed dose, and we must finish the dose as prescribed by the doctor, and we should not let it in between. Even if we are feeling good and feeling recovered, we must complete it to the fullest to the end of the course of the prescription. Now, it is always said that prevention is better than cure. So, how can we prevent the disease from happening so that we don't have to take antibiotics? For this, we take vaccines. So, what are these vaccines? Let us see this slide. So, vaccines are the killed or weak form of infection. Suppose this is the infection which we have given to an individual through vaccines. So, this represents a killed or the weak form of actual disease causing microorganism. So when they are in our body, what happens? Our special cells start producing antibodies against them, and they remember the type of antibody which they have produced against certain antigen. Now, when this vaccine was given, and in this the killed and weak pathogen was given, our body did not have the enough antibodies, and we can see that they were weak, they were not able to catch the antigen, and we could have fallen sick. But these are weak and or dead, so they cannot make us ill, but they are only giving the practice to our immune system to produce sufficient antibodies. Now here we have the antibodies produced by the blood cells after they had an interaction with these kind of antigens which they had from the vaccine. Now suppose if we have the actual disease, now we are ready with the antibodies, and these antibodies are strong enough to catch the antigen, and now we cannot fall sick. So this is the way the anti-vaccines work, and they increase the immunity of our body. How are the vaccines administered? They could be given orally, like the polio drops are given, or by inoculation, like you recently had the MMR vaccine in your school. Now we come to the comparison between antibiotics, antibodies, and vaccines. These two terms especially look very similar, but there's a lot more difference in them. Antibiotics, they are produced in factories or labs with the help of microorganisms. For example, penicillin is an antibiotic produced by the fungus Penicillium notatum, whereas antibodies, they are special type of proteins which are made by the blood cells when there is certain foreign particles or pathogens or antigens in our body. So this we take when we are ill, when we are under some treatment of disease. But these are produced in our body by the blood cell whenever there is infection which has entered our body. Now, these are vaccines, they are taken when we have to boost the immunity of the body. They are not taken when we fall sick, they are taken before we fall sick so that we can have better immunity and we do not have the condition of getting sick. Now, they are suspensions of killed and weak disease causing microorganisms, and like antibiotics, they are also developed in labs and manufactured on large scale in factories. So I hope the difference between these three and the concept how the microorganisms are helpful for human health is clear. I hope this video shall be helpful to you.